Florida has over 2 million empty homes, yet it's still one of the most unaffordable places to live. Let's make this make some sense. So let's break this down. There are over 2 million homes in Florida that are sitting unused, unoccupied. And yet the state is in a full-blown housing crisis. People can't find affordable housing. Houses just keeps going up like Beyonce's ticket prices. And the kicker? Insurance companies are raising premiums like it's a new hurricane every week, and it's nothing even going on right now. Yeah, we've had no new hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico. In the Gulf of America, we've had nothing. So my question is, who is actually really benefiting in Florida from keeping those homes empty? Because somebody has to be benefiting from that. So they keep the homes empty and the rates high. Then who's really winning in that situation? Really? What's your thought? Why do you think they have so many homes sitting vacant in Florida and why their insurance rates are sky high? What do you think is really going on?
Can we freaking talk about the housing crisis yet? For like 5 seconds. For 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Can I freaking vent for 5 seconds because no one's freaking talking about this? I'm a teacher. I work so hard. I get home around this time or later every single day. I go into work by 8:30 every single morning. And I'm paying over $2,000 in rent. And my rent should have gone up, by the way. All the houses out there that are similar are $2,500. So I'm lucky. And here I am, still struggling to pay my fucking bills. And I went to college. I did everything you guys fucking told us to do. What do you guys want us to do? Can we talk about this for 5 seconds? Are you guys going to fix it? Or are you guys going to tell us what to do? Oh, wait. Our generation's doing it all? Oh, that's what I thought. Thanks. Bye.
I'm 35 years old. I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor at my friend's place because it's impossible to get a rental or it's way too expensive. And my only options are sleep in my car, sleep on the floor at my friend's house, or try and find a room in a share house if I can afford it, if there's any available. Knowing my luck, I'll end up with some fucking weirdos. How are those my only options? How are those the only options of many Australians right now? Before anyone says, you're 35, why don't you own a house? I did own a house in my 20s. I owned a house with my ex for 6 years. We bought at a good time in 2012. Then we split. He paid me out. It wasn't enough to then go and buy another property. So I think I'm just going to have to start applying for rentals, like 1-bedroom apartments. I don't mind living in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, but having to pay $500 a week is fucked. I earn an average wage, but I can't afford that.
Just in case you were wondering how things were going in New York City, this is a 386 square foot studio for $3,400 on the 3rd floor. This is what the floor plan looks like. Okay, what? That's a walk-in closet. And just maybe you were like, oh, maybe it has a really great view. No, that's just a building outside your window. It's on the 3rd floor. It's on the 3rd floor. No natural light. You're not going to get any natural light. So that's the state. That's the state of America right now. Oh, and there's no laundry in unit either, in case you thought maybe there was. It's like staying in a hotel room. I did the math for $110 a night. And granted, yeah, it's New York City. Hotels are not $110 a night. I get it. Hotels are like more than that. But this is you living in a hotel room and nobody's coming to clean your...
A lot of people cannot make progress financially because they are house poor and they probably don't even know it. Being house poor is when you own a home that you cannot afford. What does that look like? When you have a payment that is a very big percentage of what you make monthly and all you can afford basically is to pay the mortgage. By the time you cover all your house expenses, you are basically left with nothing. I think it's important to talk about this because people are under the impression that as long as you own a home, you're winning. And that is not the case. If you are owning a home stressed out because by the end of the month, you have nothing left, you cannot afford that. That is what we call you bought too much house. With your monthly income, you should be able to pay your mortgage, set money aside, invest, basically still have a life, right? And not feel like you're drowning and not feel like you can't breathe. The biggest, smartest way to do this is waiting to buy a house when you are ready. Not when the pressure is, when are you going to buy a house? When are you going to buy a house? Oh, everyone buys a house when they get married. Why aren't you? No, you need to buy a house when you're ready. Doing this when you're ready looks like this. You should be debt free. You should have an emergency fund, and you should aim to have a really good down payment. 5, 10, 15, 20% down. And that will give you margin. That will give you breathing room. That will make sure you are doing this the right way. So don't let anyone pressure you into this. Buying a house is the biggest expense you're ever going to make, at least for most of us. Make sure you're doing this the right way.
After being a homeowner for 3 years now, I can confidently tell you that being a homeowner is a scam, and home ownership is a pyramid scheme. Because once you're in the house, you don't stop buying shit. You have to fix the floor, you have to fix the bathroom, you have to fix the yard. Landscaping? Fuck landscaping. Landscaping is so much money. But then your fridge breaks, and then your water heater breaks, and then your toilet is clogged. And God forbid you live in an HOA. So now I'm in a position where I would actually like to move out of my house. And I don't think I can actually rent it for what I'm paying for it. And now I know that I am the homeowner, I'm building equity, blah, 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 blah. But I'm only ever spending money on this house. And I'm actually so house poor that I can't buy new underwear. I would like some help and some advice.
I'm going to say something, and I'm going to risk sounding extremely privileged. I know it's a privileged statement, but it's a conversation that I still think is important to have. I'm 29 years old, and I purchased my first home at 27. Right at the tail end of being 27, right before I turned 28. And I kind of regret it. I do regret it. I bought a home too soon. I bought a home before I actually was ready. And I was doing it because I felt this pressure to check certain milestones. I'm looking around at people around me. I'm looking at other people's beanstalks. And I'm feeling this pressure to accomplish a certain thing by a certain timeline in my life. A timeline that I literally imposed upon myself. I was in a long-term relationship from 22 to 27. Right after I turned 27. And yeah, I think a part of me stayed in that relationship because I thought that by 30, life was going to be a certain way. And when I went through that breakup, I kind of started over from scratch, moved into an apartment and started rebuilding my life. And so I think I felt this urgency to buy a house because it would have made my ego ultimately feel safer and be okay, well, I might not have might not be married yet with kids, but at least I bought a house. And yeah, I felt like I needed to buy a house. When I got out of that relationship and got into an apartment, I was like, I'm going to buy a house. And I always felt like it was such a great financial decision. If I'm paying rent every month and it's disappearing, where is it going? If I can buy a house, I can make an investment. I've seen a lot of people in my time working in finance make a lot of money in real estate. So I was like, okay, I want to be the most financially smart. Buying a house was not the most financially smart thing for me because it increased my cost of living substantially. I went from paying $1,700 a month in rent to a mortgage payment with after the HOA fee of $2,600. And initially when I was in contract to buy my house, I was going to have my sister move in with me and rent from me. So when I went into the contract to buy the house, I was kind of planning on having a roommate. But then things fell apart because my sister's addiction was kind of ramping back up. And I guess I could have moved a stranger in, but I just didn't feel like the whole purpose of buying this house was to get into a place of safety to heal. And I felt like having a stranger in my house, that wouldn't help. So I started putting a ton more money towards my living expenses every month. And then 2 months, no, not 2 months, February, March, April, May, June, July. 8 months after purchasing my house, I lost my job. And then I'm stuck with this house. You can't sell a house for at least 2 years without paying short-term capital gains on taxes. And selling a house is expensive. You have to pay for the seller agent's commission. You have to pay also for the buyer's agent commission. So you're paying for whoever purchases your house, their real estate agent too. You have excise tax, you have title fees, potentially short-term capital gains. Selling a house is very expensive, not to mention getting it ready to sell, whatever that looks like. Okay, so what would be the other option is you could move a tenant in and you could then go find some other way of living, but then you have to deal with a tenant and managing a rental property and everything that comes with that. And I just bought a house too soon. And it was not the best financial decision for me. And I just don't think it's talked about enough. Purchasing a home is important, but purchasing a home when you're ready is more important. And I feel like maybe it's just where I grew up in small town America, but it's like I felt like there was so much outside pressure to hit certain milestones, and I was forcing myself to do things or like, pushing myself to meet those milestones when I wasn't even ready for it. So now I'm in a position where I'm 29 and I'm going to sell my house. I was going to move a tenant in and rent it out, and I just realized I don't want to deal with that. It's the home that I bought is in my hometown, and I don't want to have to deal with going back and dealing with it and all of that kind of stuff. So buying a home before I was ready was not the best financial decision. And I just think we need to have this conversation more. And yes, I'm so grateful that I was in a position to be able to purchase a home. Like, don't get me wrong. I recognize the privilege behind this conversation. I know there's so many people that, want to be in the position of being homeowners and maybe aren't there just yet because the housing market's crazy, rates are crazy. We don't need to get into that conversation. We're underpaid, but moral of the story, I recognize the privilege and I still think it's an important conversation to be had.
Hey sellers, I have something really hard I have to tell you. We're in the middle of a negotiation and we have the buyers and we're talking to the listing agent. This is happening right now. It's 9:00 at night. And we're looking at comps and the house has been sitting on the market. So we put in an offer that is in comparable value. And the agent said, well, no, because they've already given up $35,000. To which I reminded them, your seller's not being generous and giving up $35,000. You were never going to get that price anyway. After 3 months on the market, if you were going to get that price, you would have got it already. So it's not generosity, it's market value.
Update. We didn't buy the house. I don't think people realize how much debt you're going to get into after the whole 30-year fixed thing. We're looking at how much actually goes towards our principal, and that scared us away. So we were looking at, paying, let's just say we calculated it. 5 years, we'd be paying $233,000 right to the bank. Only $33,000 of that would go towards our principal. Make it make sense, you guys. So you're paying like double your house price over 30 years to borrow that money? Are you kidding me? So I just can't wrap my head around it. It makes no sense unless you put obviously a really big down payment on a house and you finance a very little bit of it. But I think that's the route we're going to go. We're just going to go save up maybe a couple more years and then buy. But man, this is just crazy to me, how this whole process works. So, didn't buy the house. Gonna stay renting.
If you are listening to national headline news to figure out what in the world is going on with your real estate market, then stop. Like, right now, stop. Right there, at the very top, that's Salina, Texas. Solidly in a buyer's market. Check out that inventory. It's 9 months. Right below it, that is Grand Prairie, Texas, another suburb of Dallas. It is over in the seller's market area, and it's got 4 months worth of inventory. This is for the same month, same Metroplex, different story. Now at the bottom here, we've got Melissa, Texas. It's right there in a balanced market, heading right there towards a buyer's market. Addison's at the top up there in a balanced market with 6 months worth of inventory. Then we've got Allen, which is just heading out of a seller's market with just like over 5 months worth of inventory. But check out the bottom here. Like, that's Pottsboro. It's hanging out with 14 months worth of inventory. Got Anna at the top there with 6 months worth of inventory. So why am I showing you all this? So again, this is the same month, same Metroplex. DFW has over 200 different towns and cities. And if you are listening to national news, you're missing the boat big time. And even if you're listening to the same Metroplex news, you could still be missing the mark on what's really going on in the real estate market, because just these 7 cities that I showed you, which is where we have listings right now, the inventory ranges from 4 to 14 months. Days on market 33 to 73 months. And of those, 4 are in a buyer's market, 2 are in a balanced market, and 1 is in a seller's market. This is not a one size fits all inventory across the Metroplex anymore, guys. So you need to talk to your hyperlocal market, talk to your neighborhood expert, talk to someone just about your zip code. What is going on there? Now, if I didn't mention your city and you want to know what is going on, send me a message. I'm happy to look it up and share those actual numbers with you. Don't know who I am. My name is Kim Dean. I've been a realtor for 23 years now, and I have grown up and lived in Dallas-Fort Worth. I live in McKinney with my husband, Derek, who is also a realtor. So we are living, breathing real estate 24/7. We know what's going on. So please stop listening to your cousin in Chicago who sells 3 houses a year and listen to your local expert. That is all for today. Have a good one.
Hey, so how the fuck are we supposed to continue living like this? Interest rates are like 7%. And even to get a mortgage, we need insurance. And if you live in California, it's not guaranteed you're getting insurance. Not to mention, our salaries are absolutely not increasing to keep up with the rising cost of homes and these interest rates. Netflix literally costs $25 per month now. $25! And don't even get me started that you need every single streaming provider now to even watch like the basic Bravo shows. I'm just really confused how things are supposed to continue on this trajectory. Like, what's the plan? Surely it cannot continue getting worse than this. What?
Why did I have to live in an economy that a fucking 1-bedroom apartment is $1,700? And that's just for decent living. For $1,200, you can go live with the roaches. Like, where the fuck is the 800 apartments that I was hearing about as a kid? Why is everything so fucking expensive?
I'm probably going to cause a little bit of controversy on this, but in order to afford a home, you really need to make more money. As ignorant as that sounds, you can blame all the problems on Utah affordability on the government and them building condos. You want a single family home, but here's the reality. You got to make more money. And, you know, people say, well, that's ignorant of you, Grant. Like, the government's got to fix our problems. No, they don't. The government has a problem that there are too many people here moving at a faster rate, too many people here that are staying where they grew up, and they need a place to stay. And so when you have low supply, like we do in Utah right now, we have 2.38 months of inventory, which means it would take that long to sell all the homes at the current rate that things are selling. And so in order for you to do that, and what Utah wants to do, we got all these people here. And so we need to build as many homes as we can. So that's why they're building high density. That's why they're building condos, because it is cheaper for a builder, for a developer, to build one foundation with 8 units on it than to build one house with 1 unit on it. You look at Edge Homes. Edge Homes is a perfect example where they are making a good amount of money. They are the only builder that is building condos in Utah County, okay? And they're the only ones that are really affordable. For a 3-bed, 2-bath, you can buy one in Mapleton for $315,000. Now, granted, the HOA on that is $315 a month, and so you have to consider that in your loan amount, right? In your monthly payment. And so it really comes down to money. I know that sounds ignorant, but you got to make more money. Okay, if there's one apple that's for sale and 10 people want it, who's that apple going to go to? The highest bidder, right? So, how would you fix the housing situation? Because the only way that the government sees it right now, in order to increase affordability, to decrease costs, is to build more homes. If you're a homeowner, you don't want prices to go down, right? If you're a buyer, you're like, oh, I want to buy it cheap. Okay, let's say you as a buyer end up buying a home that's like, oh, I got a sweet deal on it. And then 6 months later, the homes haven't gone up in value. You're like, wait, that's not what's supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to buy it low, and then it's supposed to go up. It's not how a market works. Market doesn't wait for anybody, right? So you got to make more money. As sucky as that sounds, that's the reality of it. You gotta, like, people who are billionaires buy a lot of real estate because they're billionaires, right? People who are multimillionaires, they're able to buy a lot of real estate. It's not the government's fault. It's People who decide, you know, I'm going to take skills and I'm going to make a company, or I'm going to get a higher paid job, I'm going to go back to school, start a company, work for a company like Adobe, some high paid job. That's what it comes down to.
I don't know who needs to get their asses beat more, the housing market or the job market. Actually, you know what? Equally, both of y'all need to get your asses beat. Because ain't no way that it's hard to find housing, affordable housing, and a decent paying job. You got predatory ass motherfucking landlords, and you got cheap ass motherfucking companies that don't want to pay motherfuckers a livable wage. This shit is getting out of control. Out of control. And then when you do find a job, they don't want to pay you nothing. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Y'all don't want to pay motherfuckers for their skills and their talents? Y'all don't want to pay motherfuckers? Like, how does that make sense? People go to school for years only to come out of school and find out that they can't find a motherfucking job and they feel that is a livable wage. What do they do to that? Because what do they do to that? That don't make no damn sense. Like, I just don't get it. And then you try to find housing. You got motherfucking landlords that's charging an arm and a leg for some basic shit. Y'all need y'all asses beat. Don't you put up a nan motherfucking rental listing and your motherfucking ass is talking about $3,000 for a 3-bedroom house. When did that shit become normal? Because that's not normal to me. You charging $1,000 for a bedroom? Hello? And not even just that. Sometimes some apartments are like at least $2,000 for a 2-bedroom, and it's an apartment on the 2nd floor. Huh? Where do y'all get off at charging these type of prices for the most basic stuff? And I promise you, still has the white refrigerator with the boring plain cabinets, basic floor. Ain't nothing about that worth no damn $2,000. Muscle motherfucker man, this shit don't make no sense. And the reason why I'm ranting about this is because I'm having a hard time finding affordable housing. I'm a family of 6, so I need to find affordable housing for me and my family. But we can't. We can't. At least not in Illinois. At least not in Illinois. And then out here in Illinois, they asses also don't want to pay. I just graduated with my motherfucking bachelor's degree back in October. And I took a lower paying job, paying $18 an hour, just so that I can get in the field. What part of that even sounds right? I took out these student loans to get my bachelor's degree to take an $18 an hour job. That don't make no sense. I'm a family of 6. Do you think I can really afford to take care of that many people on an $18 an hour salary? No. And there's no way that I should have a bachelor's degree making that type of money. But I did it so that I can get into the field. That should not be normalized. These colleges, they also need to be held accountable too. Because yeah, they'll try to like, oh, you got to network this and network that. No, I need you to set me up with applications for jobs and companies that are actually hiring in my field, so that I have a fighting chance. You got companies ghosting you because they just putting out a job list. Don't your motherfucking ass put up another job listing knowing that your ass ain't about to get back to nobody about nothing. What quota are y'all trying to meet? What quota? To the point that y'all not getting back to people. You just want people to click the apply button and be like, okay, we meet our quota. We had a bunch of people apply, but we had nobody that was qualified. The lies you tell, you're just cheap. You don't want to pay motherfucker for their skills and their talents and their degrees and their certifications. That's what it is. But at the end of the day, all y'all need your asses beat. The predatory landlords and the predatory motherfucking companies who job listing companies, whatever you call them, companies that putting out the job listings. Y'all need your asses beat too, because you are just preying on people who are hoping to get a call back from you and you get nothing. So all in all y'all need your asses beat. Sorry for the long rant, but I'm over it. I'm over it. It just don't make no sense.
I live in New York and my landlord tried to raise our rent by $600. But then I remembered that the good cause eviction law went into effect in April. So basically, if you get a rent increase that's greater than the inflation index, which is 8.82% right now, or 10%, whichever one is lower, so in this case 8.82% is lower, then that increase is unreasonable. There are exceptions to the rule, like if your landlord lives in your building, then they could raise your rent however much they want. And then just as stupidly, if your landlord owns 10 units or less, you're exempt from the rule. And you can find out how many units your landlord owns by going to the link in my bio and looking up your address. And then units with a monthly rent that's greater than 245% of the fair market rent right now. So like $6,000. There are more exemptions. I just figured these are going to be the more commonly seen. Hope this helps.
Also, everyone telling me like, oh, this apartment's so nice, you should just live in this apartment. No fucking shit. You wanna know how much this apartment is? With this gorgeous view and these updated features and all this shit, it's $5,900 a month, okay? So just to give you a lay of the land of what we're fucking dealing with here in New York, that looks like a perfect apartment. No fucking shit it does, okay? So this is not what a $2,500, $3,500 budget gets you, okay? Just to let you know.
We all know that New York City rent is extremely high, but let me give you some examples of just how ridiculous it is. I've been apartment searching for months, and so I'm checking the listings very often, and sometimes I'll see one and literally just laugh. Let's start with this one, Upper West Side, $2,550, and like, this looks pretty nice. Look at all those windows. But you scroll a little bit further, and oh, this is the entire kitchen. There's a mini fridge. There's no oven. All you have is those two little burners. So basically, you're paying nearly $2,600 a month for a glorified dorm room. This next one was interesting because it's in the West Village. Ooh, everyone wants to live there, right? Hot spot, and $2,625. First of all, that is another mini fridge. Goodbye. Second of all, that is the entire living space. There's nothing around the corner. That is it. It is a closet. You know when it's described as cozy, like you're done. Cozy and closet are synonyms. And the price history is even funnier because it keeps going down. They had this at $2,850 at one point. Hello? Okay, last example. Y'all, another doozy. $2,600 in the East Village. Okay, first of all, you can see here, incredibly small. You have to remember, all these photos are probably taken with like a wide lens, so it's half this size in person. Second of all, the sleeping loft. I feel like that just goes without saying. If I'm paying $2,600, I'm not climbing up and down a ladder to get to my bed. And they don't even show you an actual picture of the kitchen. And like, I can guess why, because look at it. It's so tiny. So it's rough out here. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you have to compromise if you want to live in a hot location. But to me, that's a tough sell, but that's a whole other conversation.
And this is why I'm big on telling my son to just stay at home. Go live in a dorm or stay your ass at home with me. Because these are not the same apartments that we had when I was 18. When I was 18, I had a little $400, $500 apartment. Really, the highest apartment, maybe in a nice area, was like $750. Mind you, we was making like $8 an hour, $8.59, $10. I was a manager at a Foot Locker, City Gear, so I probably was making $11, $12 an hour, right? Still, I was making enough to pay my rent, pay my car note. My car note was only like $198. A time to be alive. Insurance, $120. Easily could afford everything. This shit right here is what y'all like to say, diabolical. Weird. Weird as fuck. There's no way people are surviving off of $15 an hour. So that's why you need 2 people making $15 an hour. Now you got somebody making 30. Really, you need 4 people because this shit is ridiculous. In order to pay car insurance, Wi-Fi, car payment, rent, food, personal expenses, and then any kind of fucking mistake or error that happens, you got to deal with that shit. If you miss one paycheck, shit fucked up. And I've seen this a million times in an office. Somebody coming there every other day, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you, I need to talk to you. Only thing I can tell them is pay by the 15th to try to avoid the eviction. If you don't pay by the 15th, you're going under the eviction. And after that, it's just a process. They want all their money in full. So it's like we start digging that hole, those fees and late fees, and oh my God, now you have anxiety because you was owing $1,500, now you owe $3,000. You look up again, now you owe $4,500. Now you look up again, that shit say $5,000. That shit say $6,000. At this point, when you come here telling me you got $600, I'm looking at you like you might as well take that and just move. Go ahead and get you a U-Haul, because that ain't even gonna put a dent in your balance. And I'm not in the business of taking your money if it's not going to really help you. I want you to be able to move. Because one thing about it, when the sheriff comes, they don't give a fuck. They're going to tell you to get out the way. And honestly, the most slimiest shit I've been seeing is that a lot of people don't even want to warn the people. Of course, it's your business. You need to keep up with what was going on with you by going to court, calling the magistrate to see what's going on. But honestly, it's too fucking cold to not warn people that they getting put out. So, you know, that's just not my mood. That's not how I work. But I have seen people that don't warn them that, hey, the sheriff is coming. And I understand it's a safety precaution. But goddamn, I'm tired of seeing people outside with newborn babies. And some of these people don't even have a vehicle. Like, what are we doing? Like, humanity is doomed. Well, the United States is fucking doomed. Like, I don't know. I'm just getting on here to talk about it because everybody around here with the aesthetic, they going shopping, they buying shit, they living their best life. And that's cute. You got one side of TikTok and Instagram that's lit.